If you bought a Tesla car, you could get your very own personal FBI agent on top of the one that you already have.
Speaking of, there is literally a guy, I'm looking at it right now, directly across the street.
A guy?
There's a Cybertruck across the street. He lives there.
Is there an FBI agent standing next to it with his arms crossed?
Not right now, but it's also because we're kind of in bumfuck nowhere.
Now's your chance to Molotov it. Or at least piss on it.
I mean, you know...
Be very careful with what you say.
One of my roommates has already had a very loud reaction every time he sees it drive by, so... So, you know, we'll see how it goes. I also don't want to, get the house burned down. As a S5E meet the ball. I'm going back in the sand. I can't do this shit right now.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
Welcome back to the Dime Comic Bros podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Spencer, joined by Jacob.
Hello.
He is still on tour with his band, 60 Seconds to Uranus.
Yes.
They're in Saskatchewan right now, so, you know, it's cold.
Not much happening. We hit this one town, if you can call it that. It was a dive bar. And then across the street there was another bar. And that was it. So
Have you seen the movie Green Room?
We did a show at both bars. I liked the first one better. The second one was a country bar. They didn't really appreciate us.
Ew.
But yeah, that was the whole town.
Yeah. That's a vibrant local economy. Oh, goodness. Despite the fact that at some point you may hear muttered cluffling. Yes. Cluttered muffling in the background. That is definitely Colin's voice. He is not joining us this episode because he is retarded.
A big poo-poo.
You know, what else is new? He's just busy. I don't know. I think he's doing magic or, probably opening up a portal. I don't check usually.
Not playing magic.
No,
practicing magic.
Yeah, I think his cat's in heat right now, so I think he's particularly susceptible to the dark arts.
My sister was so happy to get her cat fixed because she was threatening to kill her cat every time it was in heat.
Yep.
Miserable.
Yeah. Exclusive from the...
Oh, you're just going to roll right into the comic news because that's what this episode is, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Why, did you have a transition?
No.
Exactly.
Usually we say, we're here to do the news of the comic world.
Comic book news. It is a thing that exists, and I'm going to yap about it. Okay, you can't stop me. Exclusive from HollywoodReporter.com, Justin Lin, the filmmaker who steered the Fast and Furious franchise to new and revived heights, that was Fast and Furious 7, has come on board to direct Berserker, the Keanu Reeves-created comic being adapted by Netflix. Reeves is starring in the gritty feature project as well as producing. Also producing are Stephen Christie for Boom Studios, Stephen Hamill of Company Films, and Ross Ritchie. Lin will also produce via his Perfect Storm banner. Adam Yolen is executive producing for Boom. The move reunites Lin with Reeves, who became an angel investor in the filmmaker's latest drama and returned to indie roots, Last Days, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in January. The Batman 2 co-writer Mattson Tomlin penned the script to Berserker, which according to Netflix and Boom is a brutally epic saga about an immortal warrior's 8,000-year fight through the ages. The man only known as B is half...
8,000-year fight.
What did I say?
8,000.
I can read. B is a half-mortal and half-god, cursed and compelled to violence even at the sacrifice of his sanity. But after wandering the earth for centuries, B may have finally found a refuge, working for the U.S. government to fight the battles too violent and too dangerous for anyone else. In exchange, B will be granted the one thing he desires, the truth about his endless, blood-soaked existence and how to end it. I read the first couple of issues of Berserker when it came out, because it was a big, celebrity-made project, so it got a massive amount of hype, and it was pretty cool. I haven't finished it yet, but this definitely smelled like kind of getting made to get an adaptation type thing, so no surprises here at all.
I haven't read any of it yet. I wanted to. I just haven't seen it in trades when I go shopping. So when I finally find it in a trade, I will get it and read it. But yeah. I'm excited to see this. This will be fun. An exclusive from Variety.com, Kirby Vision, a definitive feature documentary about legendary comic book artist and creator Jack Kirby, is in development with acclaimed filmmaker Ricky Stern set to direct. Emmy-winning producers Dan Braun and Josh Braun of Submarine Entertainment will produce under their Submarine Deluxe banner. Widely regarded as one of the most innovative and influential creators in comics history, Kirby co-created Captain America with Joe Simon in 1941, famously depicting the superhero punching Adolf Hitler on the first issue's cover months before the U.S. entered World War II.
That's so political.
Throughout his nearly 6-decade career, Kirby went on to create or co-create numerous iconic Marvel characters, including the Avengers, Black Panther, Fantastic Four, Hulk, Iron Man, Silver Surfer, Thor, and the X-Men, many with Stan Lee. Jack was not only one of the great comic book artists of all time, but a true visionary genius, Stern said. In this new feature-length documentary, we actively campaign for the recognition he finally deserves as a leading artist and storyteller of the 20th century. The documentary has secured cooperation from the estate of Jack Kirby, as represented by the Rosalind Kirby Family Trust, with access to personal documents, home movies, and creative materials, much of which has been unseen by the public until now. We are thrilled to work with such a dedicated, passionate, and knowledgeable team of filmmakers, said Lisa Kirby, the artist's daughter. The legacy of Jack Kirby is in good hands, as Ricky, Dan, Josh, Ron, Mike, Chris, and their team share the same creative energy that helped my father create boundless universes of characters that continue to inspire us and shape our imaginations. This has been a long, ongoing thing. Just how much of the creative process was actually Stan Lee, or was it stolen from Jack Kirby? There's a good YouTube channel that I've been following for a while, Strange Brain Parts, and I swear it's been a couple of months that he's been investigating the very same thing. He just did a new video 2 days ago about how much of the creative process each of them had in creating the Fantastic Four. So, I don't know. I really appreciate the investigations that these people are doing, but after a while, it's like, okay, it's two dudes that didn't really know what they were doing and should have signed a contract. I get bored of the argument like halfway through.
That's fair. I think this one kind of hits more for me in terms of like the Bob Kane Bill Finger debacle over Batman that went on for like eons and only recently got resolved in, I believe it was BVS actually was the first movie that properly credited Bill Finger. Like after that finally all got settled out. So it feels more like maybe less about the actual like people like us caring about the process and the specifics of it, but more so about like pushing that level of recognition into something more easily pointed at and like concrete of like X, Y, and Z studio exec, go watch this fucking documentary, put his name on the movie type shit. I don't know. It's cool that the family is co-signing it as well. That's always like in general a good thing for obvious reasons. But especially because they would be benefiting from that. Like if in the longer term his family has basically been written out of like royalty contracts, it would make sense that they want to get on top of that, especially since they have been like curating his old documents and stuff. It's not like they just dropped it. This is an interesting double whammy from comicbook.com. A documentary about Marvel Comics legend Stan Lee's tumultuous final years is in the works and nearing completion. Titled Stan Lee, The Final Chapter, the film takes fans behind the scenes for an in-depth exploration of how Lee was exploited by his former business partners for financial gain. The documentary is directed by John Bolerjack, who worked closely with Lee during the last 4 years of Lee's life. As one of Lee's assistants, Bolerjack accompanied Lee and Lee's entourage to numerous events and shot several hundred hours of video, which serves as the foundation for the documentary. The footage highlights Lee's closest confidants, including several who exploited Lee's declining health and age. Stan Lee, the final chapter, highlights how Lee was used to generate revenue at convention appearances as autographed memorabilia and photo ops brought in large sums of money, most of which was never to be seen by Lee or his family. Bolerjack is looking to raise funds to help complete the documentary through a just-launched Kickstarter. It's expected that the finished film will be released before the end of the year. Headlines of Lee being the victim of elder abuse were prevalent during the latter stages of his life. Just a few months before Lee passed away in November 2018, he had filed a restraining order against his former business partner, Kaya Morgan. Back in 2019, Morgan was arrested on elder abuse charges, with police stating Morgan had convinced Lee that he was in danger and needed to be moved. In lawsuits filed against his ex-manager and attorney, Lee called them unscrupulous businessmen, sycophants, and opportunists. I have two entirely different trains of thought here, and it's very frustrating because on the one hand, this is really interesting because I think it was before we started this show, but we've definitely speculated a lot on like how much they were kind of wheeling Stan Lee around just as like the face of Marvel, and some of that definitely like aside from the technicality of how much of that was true, just kind of smelled weird. On the other hand, why the fuck are you waiting until he died to release all of this? My dude, if you were there, I'm sorry. This is scummy. I don't care like what justifying mechanism you have to use. Making a Kickstarter to put like just release the raw footage to law enforcement, you dickhead. I'm sorry. Like if this is such a big personal deal for you, just do it. Like don't make a spectacle out of it. There's a difference, I think, between doing something to get headlines in a good sense of like, well, this needs attention and I'm like an independent journalist, blah, 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 versus like, I need independent funding for this project to edit it into a 2-hour documentary. And like, this smells scummy as fuck. It's legitimate in terms of the fact that he has been verified as one of Lee's assistants. Like that's all very factual. It's just like, my dude, you had the opportunity to do something. You probably should have done it a long time ago. He's been dead for 7 years. How does it take you this long to put all this? That my personal feelings about Stan Lee aside, that just feels disgusting.
From PBS.com. From his early art for the countercultural underground comics movement to his acclaimed graphic novel Mouse, Spiegelman's legacy in the comic arts world continues to grow and has inspired many of today's beloved cartoonists. Discover Spiegelman's career and how his life story inspired his groundbreaking work, even in the face of looming censorship. In American Masters Art Spiegelman, Disaster is My Muse, premiering nationwide, Tuesday, April 15th at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on PBS and the PBS app. The film is part of the WNET Group's Holocaust Days of Remembrance, exploring anti-Semitism through the history and personal stories of the Holocaust and their impact on Jewish life and culture. Featuring archival footage and stills, illustrations, and new interviews with Spiegelman, Art Spiegelman, Disaster is My Muse follows Spiegelman's early career as co-editor of comic magazines Arcade and Raw, before becoming a contributing artist for the New Yorker, as well as the origins and impact of Mouse, his autobiographical work that became the first and only graphic novel to win a Pulitzer Prize. The movie, which won the Metropolis Grand Jury Prize at its world premiere at the DOC NYC Festival in November 2024, features interviews from Spiegelman's family and contemporaries, including designer and wife Francois Mowley, fellow cartoonists Joe Sacco, Robert Crumb, Emil Ferris, Jerry Kraft, and Bill Griffith, writer and artist Molly Crabapple, and author Jay Hoberman. Born to Polish Jewish immigrant parents, Spiegelman began cartooning at a young age, taking inspiration from Mad Magazine and Topps Company's trading card illustrations. He met Woody Gilman, then the art director of Topps, who encouraged him to apply for a job at the company after high school. While he was a student at Harper College of Arts and Sciences at Binghamton University, Spiegelman began freelancing for Topps and subsequently moved to San Francisco to participate in the city's burgeoning underground comics scene. While co-editing Raw with Maui, Spiegelman started developing Maus as a book based on his father's experiences as a Jewish immigrant and Holocaust survivor. The project was serialized in Raw starting in December 1980, before being published as a graphic novel 6 years later. Maus was a soaring success. It became a New York Times bestseller and has since sold millions of copies worldwide. The acclaimed graphic novel won the Pulitzer Prize in '92 and helped establish comics as a formidable storytelling medium and art form.
Sorry, there's a lot of documentaries that got announced this month.
Yeah.
I probably could have trimmed that one up a little bit more, sorry.
It's all right.
This is like the graphic novel I point people towards when they express any level of interest in like anything comic related, if they're not specifically looking for superhero shit. Like if it's someone I don't know, like if they're like, well, the medium seems cool, but like I don't want to read a damn Batman book. Like my dad read Mouse like 10, 15 years ago, like while I was a kid, like it's just an easy one to point to as like this is kind of the best that the medium can be without like removing it from the context of like the superhero comics and manga, and it's just like this is just a really good piece of like autobiography and illustration. I think I reread it last year. I think I talked about it on the show somewhat recently. There's been a few documentaries about Art Spiegelman. I believe he's still alive, if I remember correctly. So that's pretty cool. He's also, I believe he just released another companion book. So that's cool. I kind of want to like actually watch this one like when it comes out instead of waiting for it to hit something else. PBS always puts together pretty good documentaries. So from Marvel.com, changing gears. Marvel's very own Star Wars superstar Dr. Aphra will headline a new ongoing comic series this June, written by rising star Cherish Chen from Radiant Red, and drawn by acclaimed longtime Star Wars artist Gabriel Guzman. Following Alex Segura and Phil Noto's flagship Star Wars in 2025 series that is launching in May, Star Wars Dr. Aphra Chaos Agent will be the second launch in Marvel's new era of Star Wars storytelling set in the largely unexplored post-Return of the Jedi time period. Debuting 10 years ago, oh my gosh, in the pages of Kieran Gillen and Salvador Larroca's Darth Vader 2015 run, Dr. Chelly Lona Aphra instantly captivated fans with her morally questionable nature and deadly dynamic with the Dark Lord of the Sith, becoming the first ever comic book originating Star Wars character to star in their own solo series. After back-to-back hit 40-issue runs set during the original trilogy, Aphra embarks on her most unpredictable misadventures as the galaxy far, far away transforms in the wake of the Battle of Jakku. With her crimes pardoned, of course, Aphra is enlisted by her friend Luke Skywalker to put her treasure hunting skills to good use on behalf of the New Republic. It's on sale June 18th. Not a fan of the cover, but that's not the interior artist. I did not expect this.
I second the not liking the cover. That's not good, but I had a blast with the Dr. Aphra run. I got the omnibus several years ago and read through it, and it's very, very good. I think you would like it even more than I did. But yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah, I believe I read the first 10 issues maybe, and then I've read her like in all of the crossover events that I've read, but I didn't know where her story ended, and I didn't expect it to be another ongoing in this new era, just with how they're kind of restructuring how the books are coming out. So that's kind of cool. If only they could put Poe Dameron in an omnibus already. I'm still mad.
From DC.com, in 2022, one of comics' greatest storytellers presented a heartfelt, beautiful, and epic retelling of the early days of the dynamic duo, delving into the history of Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. On June 11th, the Eisner Award-winning team of Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen reunite to tell the story of Batman's most tortured and complex Robin, as DC Today announced plans to publish Robin and Batman, Jason Todd, a 3-issue DC limited series available at participating comic book shops and digital retailers. Batman has a new Robin, Jason Todd. Jason is a rash, impulsive, and reckless kid with a troubled past who Batman was certain could be molded into Gotham's next protector. But can the Dark Knight save Jason Todd from the darkness within himself? And when a mysterious new villain shrouded in a white cloth and mystery sets his sight on Jason, Batman realizes that even he has what it takes to drain the anger and torment out of his new young ward.
Have you gotten to reading Robin and Batman yet?
No.
Hurry the fuck up.
Don't know anything about this.
It's so good.
This went under my radar.
Colin and I both read it and talked about it separately. It's probably one of the best, mini-series / graphic novels that DC's put out in the past few years at least.
I really like that cover, though. That's incredible.
That's what the whole book looks like.
Oh, goodness.
Dustin's art is ridiculous. He is one of, I'm actually going to be talking about one of his books pretty soon. Stupidly talented, especially when he has the time to do the watercolor painting on top of his own pencils.
That's what I was going to say. I really love the coloring.
It's so good. It's so good. You should prompto. I did not expect it to get a sequel either, so that's cool.
Set the book aside for when I get home. For the 2 weeks that I will be home.
Fuck you. Also, the black looks kind of bluish on the Batman suit. Kind of. Not really.
Kind of at the edges, yeah.
Colin's going to cream about that. From Marvel.com, this July, Marvel's first family will enter a bold new era in an all-new ongoing comic book series written by Ryan North of One World Under Doom and Fantastic Four, and written by artist Humbert. Oh, my brain. I know this guy. Why am I so racist? Oh my gosh. Humberto. Oh my fuck. I'm not racist.
I think
what's wrong with my brain? I think I'm tired.
You're putting an R where it doesn't belong. You're a New Englander.
Humberto Ramo.
Hey. That was close enough. Move on.
And drawn by artist Humberto. Oh. I'm not okay. From Strange Academy. Big fan. I really like his stuff. The new comic series will test the strength of the Fantastic Four as they embark on adventures through time, space, science, and the human condition in a way we have never seen before. Beginning during the events of One World Under Doom, which is the current ongoing Marvel event, also helmed by North, the Fantastic Four face Doctor Doom in a fight to save the world, of course, as always, until it suddenly goes catastrophically wrong, sending them to 4 different eras in Earth's history. Alone and isolated in wildly different time periods, Reed, Johnny, Ben, and Sue all have to fight to survive. Their only hope is to reach the Forever Stone, a massive dense granite MacGuffin that happens to be one of the longest lasting rocks on the planet, MacGuffin, which, through a combination of obscurity and raw geologic luck, MacGuffin has stayed both intact and accessible for most of Earth's history.
Yet again, I really hate that cover. That is reminiscent of end of 80s, early 90s Fantastic Four. The proportions
that's
weird.
That's a Ramos cover. I'm sometimes he doesn't get picked for the best projects, but he has a style I really jive with sometimes.
Maybe if I read the whole issue, but I don't know. Sue Storm's face especially looks really strange.
So as someone who is currently reading North's previous run that just wrapped up 5 minutes ago, what are your thoughts about this?
I've been debating about whether I'm going to review it. So I think the run was 4 trades, right? And I just finished the second trade equivalent. I'm reading it in singles on the Marvel app. I was having a blast when it was the Fantastic Four and significant others. So like Ben Grimm's wife is along for the ride and things like that. And they're having adventures and they're sciencing it up and having a great time. And that was a blast. But then as soon as the Baxter building pops back into existence with all of their kids, and their kids are going through all the drama of being the kids of super smart people, and they themselves are super smart, like smarter than Einstein, and they just don't know how to fit in, and they're doing these impossible things. I just don't care. This has been twice now that I've read a Fantastic Four book and had fun until the kids show up, and I'm like, I don't care for these shitheads at all. Fantastic Four is great. Their kids suck.
I gotta find the right book to get you on board with that, because the kids have existed since like the 90s.
I know, and I hate them.
So what it sounds like is you might pick this book up because it doesn't sound like the kids are in it.
I want to finish the run. I'm hoping the kids don't stick around for very long, or that they become minor characters, but I hit a rough patch where it was like, and now we get 2 or 3 issues in a row of just the kids being in school, being smarter than everybody else, and I'm like, this sucks. But yeah, I'm excited for One World Under Doom. I don't know. Ryan North was doing a great job with the series. I just really hate the kids.
Yeah.
And the art's great too.
From DC.com.
Whoa, whoa.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm a little sped. Sorry. Oopsies.
I should do a different one and leave that one for you. I like that. All right, from Marvel.com. In 1998, the Marvel Knights line reignited the comic book industry and redefined Marvel storytelling for the 21st century. Now, over 25 years later, 2 of the imprint's key creators, influential writer, artist, and former Marvel Comics editor-in-chief Joe Quesada and acclaimed writer Christopher Priest, present a new evolution of the Marvel Universe under the groundbreaking Marvel Knights banner this June in Marvel Knights: The World to Come. Developed and almost already completed in its entirety, Marvel Knights: The World to Come is a 6-issue series where Quesada and Priest combine their decades of experience crafting masterful comic book sagas to produce an entire new vision of the Marvel Universe. The story begins in Wakanda, with starting development centered around T'Challa, Storm, Shuri, and more that will reverberate across the globe, changing the Marvel mythos as you know it and boldly reinventing its most legendary heroes. The King of Wakanda is dead, again, leaving unguarded the world's most advanced technology, most precious metal, and a cryptic vault of dark secrets while triggering global conflict among Marvel's heroes, villains, and mutants. With T'Challa gone and the future of the Marvel Universe teetering on a vibranium knife edge, a tribal challenge ensues for the Wakandan throne, and its mysterious victor will emerge as the new leader of Wakanda and usher in the world to come. Recounting the history behind Marvel Knights, Quesada said, in September 1998, Marvel Knights Daredevil #1 hit the stands, followed by The Punisher, Inhumans, and Black Panther. That's out of order of release according to those dates, but whatever. I skipped over them, but The Punisher came out in 2001, and Inhumans and Black Panther came out in 98. I was confused whatever. 8 months earlier, Jimmy Palmiotti, Nancy DeKejian, and I, along with our creators, spent endless hours and sleepless nights producing the best books we could. We knew they looked different, edgier than anything Marvel was publishing at the time, but in a struggling comic book industry, there was no guarantee anyone would notice. We were confident they'd do well, but we didn't anticipate the overwhelming fan reaction or the lasting impact Marvel Knights would have on Marvel. Fast forward to October 2017, my best bud, mentor, and Marvel Knights Black Panther writer, and for my money, the best writer in comics, Christopher Priest, pitched me an idea rooted in his original Marvel Knights take on T'Challa and Wakanda. It was insane, beautiful, and edgy as hell. Whoa, I even swore. I told him I had to draw it, and that we should go even bigger.
Yeah.
I don't have much experience with Marvel Knights. I read the Punisher run, and I think that's it. It's something I should get. Oh no, I read the first trade of the Captain America Marvel Knights run. But that was it, for sure.
There's a lot of good stuff in there. That's also a really good spot for you to loop back to for Black Panther. This kind of, in a good sense, reminds me of Last Night on Earth and Batman Catwoman, as two books that were done with like dubious canonicity to wrap off two previous runs that had definitely ended and were still in canon, and then this weird like Elseworld book comes in that's like, okay, but what if that storyline continued and it wasn't in the main universe or whatever? And that's fine. I'm a big sucker for Priest. And Quesada has a lot of really good work, like strong respect. He's also been very high up in Marvel for a very long time, kind of on and off. So the amount of pressure that sits on his damn back is impressive. So cool. I'll wait until it's in a book, but I'm definitely going to check it out.
You can say canonicity, but you can't say Humberto Ramos.
I'm white, okay? Speaking of white people, from DC.com, DC and Realm announced plans to launch DC High Volume Batman. Speaking of Batman, podcast series featuring direct adaptations of DC's greatest Batman stories as exciting audio dramas. It begins with a 4-part adaptation of Batman Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. We all know the story of Batman Year One. I'm not recounting that. A lot of stuff I should have trimmed out. DC is committed to creating new ways to reach a broader audience with engaging, accessible, and high production value adaptations of our most iconic and essential Batman comic stories, including the audio format, said Anne DePais, SVP and General Manager, DC. We want to offer audiences who may be new to DC a jumping on point for the Batman franchise, driving them back to our books while engaging existing fans, podcast enthusiasts, aka white boys like us, and audiobook listeners with direct adaptations that bring their favorite stories to life as faithfully as possible. DC High Volume Batman launches April 2nd with the first 2 episodes adapting chapters 1 and 2 of the iconic Batman Year 1 storyline, Batman 404 and 405, followed by new episodes releasing every Wednesday. You can register to get it pre-downloaded. It's free on everything. This tracks. They've been investing in the podcast stuff for a while now. It's been kind of slow cooking, and it's still all Batman, which is gay. And it's being produced by a different company than the other ones have been so far, but it makes sense. I don't know. Directly adapting some classic stories doesn't sound like a bad way to make some money. Content.
From Marvel.com, first teased last December, Jonathan Hickman's sweeping new cosmic epic Imperial arrives this June. Known for his influential work on Fantastic Four, Avengers, and X-Men, as well as the creation of Marvel's hit new Ultimate Universe line, the visionary writer will now team up with superstar artists Federico Vicentini and Iban Coelho to revolutionize Marvel's galactic canon in this 4-part event series. Imperial finds the galaxies of the Marvel Universe on the brink of major upheaval, following the elimination of several of its most prominent leaders. Nature abhors a vacuum, and empires fall, rulers are overthrown, and power is seized in a saga of intrigue, mysteries, and war, all taking place against the backdrop of the formation of new galactic order in the Marvel Universe. With groundbreaking developments for Hulks, Black Panthers, Novas, Guardians, and Cosmic Kings and Queens, Imperial lays the foundation for an entire new landscape of interconnected space-set stories, making it the must-read comic book of the summer. I'm very excited about this project, as I'm obviously a huge fan of all things Marvel Cosmic, Hickman said. the goal here is to kind of do what we did with the recent Ultimate line for all of our space titles, except having the setup book be more of an event than a world-building exercise like Ultimate Invasion. The art team is killing it, and we're all just very excited to see what's happening in the special corner of the Marvel Universe. So yes, I'm excited because of his work on the Ultimates, but I'm hesitant because of his work on Gods. This goes on sale June 4th.
Yeah, he's got a Hickman all over the place. I'm surprised it's 4 issues. My gut kind of says it was probably going to be like 8 or 10, and Marvel, because Gods had a good critical reception, but it didn't sell that well, they probably said cut it down. But Black Panther and Hulk do, and like the Nova Corps and shit in space, like all of the lines directly tied to this sound cool. These are 2 fucking incredible artists and Hickman. So I'm getting these issues. Sorry. From DC.com, DC, home of the world's greatest superheroes, or so they proclaim, announced plans to publish New History of the DC Universe, a 4-issue limited series arriving at participating comic book shops and etc. on June 25th. DC superfan and writer Mark Waid, you know who he is, teams up with some of DC's greatest artists for this fresh look at the past and present of the DC Universe, seen through the eyes of Barry Allen, aka The Flash. This is my dream project, said series writer Waid. It is a chance to realign all of DC's sprawling continuity into one master timeline and to be joined by some of comics' greatest artists to make it shine. With new information for even longtime fans, plus Easter eggs galore, this series will be an essential read for DC fans. The debut issue features art by Jerry Conway and Todd Nauck, who joined Waid in chronicling Barry Allen's journey from the birth of the DC Universe to the rise of the Justice Society and the golden age of superheroes. I'm having an absolute blast with this project, said co-artist Nuck. Mark has come up with something cool for me to draw on every page, and it's been an honor to share art chores with a comics legend like Jerry Ordway. I didn't know Jerry was still fucking working, dude. The DC editorial team has coordinated a wealth of deep dive references for me to draw from, and I'm learning new aspects of DC history I hadn't known before, and I've been reading DC Comics for decades. Mark Waid's having a bit of a resurgence, especially with DC right now. He's been on top of like 3 or 4 ongoing books, which have all been getting really well received. So I'm not sure how he's pumping all this stuff out, but another like 4-issue series. I couldn't find any information in terms of like interior layout, because this smells like a similar, like a different version of the alternate history of the DC Universe by, what was that, John Ridley, and I can't remember the artist, which you kind of liked. I really liked. It was like a half comic book, half book with like a lot of words and with illustrations on the sides and stuff. That was a Black Label book because it was like a hypothetical look effectively at like all of the various like superheroes of color from primarily the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So like this is kind of like that, but also not like that. And I just couldn't find any info if this is. It sounds like they're setting it up to be like almost an art book in a sense of like, look at all this information, and like it's a coffee table book, but they're also talking about how they're trying to streamline it so much into one coherent timeline, which smells like the remnants of the 5G event from like 4 years ago, because they were trying to do that so long ago. So that's kind of weird, but I don't know. I think there was another, some quotes by Mark Waid that said he was taking a lot of inspiration, tonally speaking, from New Frontier by Darwin Cook, and that's always a win for me. That is probably my favorite book like ever.
The last bit of news is that we got a final trailer for Andor Season 2. The TV show starts April 22nd.
And as usual, Jacob is refusing to watch anything past the first trailer, and Spencer is gooning.
Yep.
Speaking of gooning, what have you been getting up to?
Thanks a lot for that. I can't. Hang on. I can't talk about what I was going to talk about with that kind of transition. I read Blade, the Red Band series from 2024. It's 5 issues. It was written by Brian Edward Hill. It was penciled by C.F. Villa. It started releasing in October. I don't remember when the last issue came out. November, December, January, February, last month. This is coming in hot off of the previous Blade run, I guess, where Blade's daughter Elena did something, and I don't know. This is its own adventure. I didn't feel the need to have to know what was going on. There's a vampiric Illuminati that tries to talk to Blade and is like, there's a bad dude, he's a vampire, he's gonna do bad things, you should go kill him. Along the way, he meets somebody, and I think this is a new character. And the introduction seemed kind of weird because I swear she never said her name, and then all of a sudden Blade knew her name. I don't know. And they go to find the bad guy. Elsa Bloodstone comes along for the ride for a second. And then the last issue kind of flips everything on its head, which was really interesting. It did not end how I expected it to. And then it leaves itself open because the vampiric Illuminati is basically left unfazed. So this is kind of its own just 5-issue short Blade adventure. It's frustrating because it feels like it was trying to gain enough steam to be continued. The last issue has the classic "the end?" question mark, and then the next page is like, please email in and tell us you're enjoying this. Like, that's exactly how it reads. It's like, I didn't like how it was like begging to continue getting funded. I don't know. It felt weird. I could just be numb inside, but the Red Band doesn't feel that much bloodier than other comics I've read. Like, there are, every once in a while, there's like a frame of like, oh, that's a lot of extra guts that usually aren't zoomed in on or magnified or explicitly like drawn out, but usually I assume that's because it's for the artist's sake of not like hyper focusing on the gore, whereas this is like, I'll sprinkle in a few extra intestines or whatever and paint a little bit extra blood. It really doesn't, there is nothing that made me go, oh, that's fucking nasty. It's just, it's there. It's fine.
I definitely second that notion. One of the other Red Band books, Werewolf by Night, I'm pretty sure I had the same complaint of like, this is about as gory as the Incredible Hulk or like Ghost Rider is. Like, it's really violent, but it's not grotesque for the most part. And
yeah, Hulk is a really good example of like with Phil Kennedy Johnson's current run and Immortal Hulk. Like, there were nastier things in that, I think, than either of these runs.
Yeah, it's odd. Instead of it being like a across the board like adult approach, so there's more profanity, there's more boobs, whatever. This is just more blood and guts, and it's like the books have never really been limited to blood and guts. It's more so about presentation. Like, you can do really bloody, gutty things, including horror books with a teen rating. But when it doesn't have the follow-up stuff, like, when every other word is still a censored curse word, it's like, just make it a mature book. Just do the full jump and just go for it. Because if you're going to censor fuck every other word anyways, it's just,
And there wasn't even that much censored language. It felt like a normal amount for a comic book. I don't understand. It's very weird.
You should check out the 10 issues of Blade that happened before this from the same writer, just for like the sake of comparison. Because I dug those. I dug them, especially if it sounds like there isn't really a direct connection there.
I will eventually. I've been trying to find those like shorter runs to read up on the Marvel app. I hate doing like very long runs. I'd rather buy an omnibus than to read, Christopher Priest's run on Black Panther. So, each of these were $5 a piece, I think, and it's fine. It looked good for the most part. I don't know. It's just there.
Fair. I read Superman Kal-El Returns. This is a kind of hybrid book. So probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I talked about the kind of like later the Infinite Frontier era of Superman and Action Comics, where we had the parallel lines of Son of Kal-El with John Kent running, and then we had the Warworld Saga stuff with Superman. This is the finale of that, I guess. It's more like the epilogue. So this includes Son of Kal-El 16, 17, and 18, and Action Comics 1047 through 1050, as well as Superman Kal-El Returns Special. It's an epilogue. It's just setting up the new incoming writer, who would be Joshua Williamson, if I remember correctly. So just trying to parse out any remaining threads from the last run, any like little timeline related events, all the little reuniting, oh my goodness, dad's home, all that shit's in here. It's attempted to be arranged in chronological order, but because these were 2 runs with 2 different writers, the timeline doesn't entirely match up. So we have multiple versions of kind of the same events, which is really just entertaining. It's not really a problem. It's just like, wait, I thought he already... Huh? So it's a little silly, but they tried, I guess. And it definitely makes for a decent, like, total chunk. It's 6 issues and a special. So it's a decent sized paperback. I was actually kind of impressed by this one as well. So the 2 runs before this, one, the Warworld Saga was genuinely really, really good. And Son of Kal-El started off really good and just kind of petered out towards the end. This is a surprisingly strong wrap-up for being kind of directionless. It's just 2 writers kind of tying off threads and then setting up the new status quo for the new guy. But just getting to see, respectfully, horny me, when Clark comes home and his way of greeting Lois is like pulling her out of the house and going up into the clouds, and then we see like a piece of clothing fall. My guy, it's gonna get to me. I don't care. Like, that's just good stuff. I don't know. The father and son reuniting is really nice. Just, oh, hey, what the fuck has been going on while I've been gone? And then, he's like, dude, you missed so much shit. Also, that's my boyfriend now. Don't worry about that. I don't know. That stuff was fine. The Kal-El Returns special, if I'm remembering my shit correctly, was more of the direct setup for Joshua Williamson. It's Lex Luthor going, oh, fuck, he's back. Oh, no. And he tries to recruit Metallo, who's currently in prison. He does some really good scheming and conniving to get Metallo to work for him effectively. And I thought that stuff was really cool. Also had fan-fucking-tastic art, which I don't think that artist is continuing to do interiors for the next run after this. But for a special, it was hitting real hard. I have never given a shit about Metallo in my life, and yet this one was surprisingly gripping, of a guy shoved in a robot body, and like he has one one human relation left, and Lex is like, I'm gonna kill her. Fuck you. Be my bitch. I don't know. That worked out really well for me. I believe it was $25, which is a little steep, but it was definitely worth the read. If you are reading either of the previous runs or both, this is definitely worth picking up. It's not really worth it on its own, just because most of it is specifically related to emotional payoff from other runs with context you don't really know about. All of it across the board had solid art. It's like 4 or 5 different artists, so the specific notes don't really matter, but it was all good. Superman, more like Stuperman. I don't know. Good Superman book, go burr.
I read 6 issues of a Black Panther run, and I'm not quite sure what led me here. I think it was a button in the Marvel Unlimited app that was like, here was a quick little adventure with Black Panther. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool to read. It is strange because the fandom has it listed completely different from how the app had it listed. I swear it was Black Panther issues 1 through 6 in the app, but in the fandom, it's Black Panther Volume 5 and number 119. I don't know what's going on. It's part of the Dark Reign run. It's written by Reginald Hudlin and penciled by Ken Lashley and inked by Paul Neary, colored by Paul Mounts. It is... I don't know much about the Dark Reign events either. It's falling out of that. Black Panther, T'Challa goes to fight Namor with his Dora Milaje and gets his ass handed to him, is either dead or dying at the end of that. And then that leaves the politicians, the T'Challa's cabinet, to try to figure out what to do, because maybe it was Doom is attacking Wakanda. It could be Namor. I don't remember. Somebody's attacking Wakanda's. Yeah, Doom is attacking Wakanda at the same time, and they don't have a protector. So Shuri does the test by sniffing the flower and meeting the Black Panther god Bast, and is trying to become the Black Panther in her brother's stead. Storm, T'Challa's wife, does a magical whatever ceremony to go meet T'Challa in between life and death, and offers her life instead of his. There was a lot going on. It was interesting. Shuri is denied by Bast to become the Black Panther, and she's like, wow, I've learned an incredible life lesson. I shouldn't have whatever, and then puts on the costume and kicks ass. Anyway, it's kind of weird. Especially because the fandom doesn't even know what's going on, seemingly. I don't know what's happening. But it was fun. It looked really good. My only complaint that seems to be my only complaint ever is that sometimes faces were inconsistent. But I like how muscular everybody looks, which seems weird, but I'm looking at the cover of it, and like there's a Black Panther under Shuri's arm as she's the Black Panther, and like even the cat is flexing ridiculously. and so Shuri is the Black Panther. It's funny. It's reminiscent of like 90s comics. This came out in 2009. But it looks like 90s art, but better, if I had to try to describe it. I don't know, maybe if I ever read Dark Reign and understand what happened in that, this might make a little bit more sense, but it was, I guess, just good for me to see, like, the comics where she goes for the test and fails. See where that part of the movie was coming from.
More Superman, sorry. Adventures of Superman John Kent is a 6-issue miniseries that was a follow-up to the Superman Son of Kal-El series, also written by Tom Taylor, with art by Clayton Henry and Derek Robertson. I believe Henry did 4 of the issues and Robertson did 2. This is a very contentious book. Like, really, really contentious. This is one of the ones that gets pointed to with the Tom Taylor hate train, which comes around every once in a while. And I kind of get where they're coming from, but I just don't buy the reasoning that why people don't like. Okay, so this is definitely some scrapped plans from his Son of Kal-El run, whether it was editorial told him he couldn't do it yet or whatever. This was definitely just like another adventure with those characters and this writer. But because I think that book was kind of dwindling in sales, they pushed it off to a miniseries afterwards or whatever. So aside from all the weird DC buying every other comic company in existence shit. So you know how we have Earth 2 was kind of created because DC bought a bunch of shit. It's a universe where the Justice League is bad, actually. And then a lot of the characters are thusly flipped. But it's one of the best examples of doing that, where most of the Justice League are bad. Lex Luthor's kind of a good guy, but he's also a bad guy. Ultraman is their Superman parody, spoof, whatever. He's effectively just Superman now, which is fine. It's another one of those... the company, the bigger company creates their own version of the small company creates their spoof on a character that they don't own the rights to, and then eventually that gets bought out by the company that actually owns the rights to that character, so they kind of get smushed together. Watchmen and Vertigo and DC, kind of, where that was originally a bunch of Charlton Comics characters that they just didn't have the rights to use. So yeah, Ultraman, he's going to be in the upcoming Superman movie, whatever. Evil Superman, he is going across the multiverse and killing a bunch of Kal-Els because reasons. I don't remember if it's ever explained why, but why not? Bad guy is doing bad guy shit. And that immediately stops, which is really weird. That's the initial setup, and then in the first issue, I believe by the end of it, Ultraman is stopped because they go to the Injustice universe, and that Kal-El just fucking yeets him into the sun, metaphorically. So, very odd. I think it's when you remove the jargon, effectively, Ultraman is kind of another Kal-El, so if he removes all of them, he gets more Kal-El superpower through the multiverse. Whatever, it's goofball shit. Because comics. So John gets sucked into a portal for a while. He has to fight Ultraman because he's like, why are you trying to kill a bunch of my dads? That's kind of dumb. Ultraman was one of the couple of characters that was part of like why John got pulled away and had that big time jump where he was like stuck in a volcano and tortured. Alongside it was a really bad version of Jor-El that we don't talk about. So they try to draw some parallels there, which is pretty cool, of like, I don't know, looping back around and like fighting some evil from earlier in your life, which is neat, especially because John is, I think, like 21, 22 now. So they're trying to make him a little bit more, not mature necessarily, but more reflective, I guess, or like introspective to himself and like what his life actually means. He teams up with Earth 2's Superman, who, if I remember correctly, is Val Zod. It's a really well-known like version of Superman who's black. He's a great fucking character. He's been around since like New 52 era. And yeah, this is weird, man. So because they go to the Injustice universe, which all of those comics are written by Tom Taylor, most of which are fantastic, despite the fact that the games have dog shit ass story. He kind of makes the comics work. This then takes place directly before Injustice 2, if I remember correctly. It's so weird, dude. I think you might have seen a panel from this by now because it got blown up so much. This is where he goes and hugs the like mega Hitler Superman because he's like, I don't want to fight you, Dad, or whatever the fuck. It blew the fuck up into like, it was taken out of context as like, if you pulling from real world events right before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, or like directly following, there was this fucking weird ass white woman on the internet who decided to make a song about how if she was Putin's mom, he wouldn't be doing this because she would have loved him, right, or whatever. Weird shit, I know. I'm pulling some shit from the ether right now. But that was like the weird connection people were drawing, was like, oh no, if you only loved Superman, right, he wouldn't turn into Hitler. And it's like, I get what they're trying to say in terms of what it means hypothetically out of context. But then in 2 panels later, he proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of him. So it doesn't really land as a point. And Tom Taylor's kind of correct. It's more of John confronting this hypothetical version of his dad and going, I care about you because you're still a version of my father, and I'm sorry for the pain that you've been through. I can't fix you. You're just this fucked, and I'm still going to kick your ass. Like, I don't know. This is a very weird, like, Tom Taylor specific, like, hate fandom in terms of misconstruing his, like, internal worldview. This is really weird stuff. I don't know. John Kent goes to the Injustice universe and he kicks the shit out of some people. He almost joins them for 5 minutes and then says no. And then he kicks Superman's teeth in and leaves. That's really it. It's weird. Almost all of my thoughts about this are not about the comic itself, and that's one of the reasons why I'm frustrated, because of trying to read the comic in a vacuum, it's fine. There's nothing terribly interesting about it. It's a little bit of Tom Taylor doing the Tom Taylor thing where he's low-key jerking himself off. Like Tom King. But it's not that offensive by any means. I did really like the art by Clayton Henry. I thought that those panels were done extremely well. A lot of really good motion smoothing. I don't like Derek Robertson. I never really have. He has some books that he's worked really well on, like the original The Boys book. I really don't like when he works on mainstream superhero books, and this is a really good example of why. Everything's just fucking weird. He does really strange proportions. It doesn't fit the tone of the book. This book isn't trying to be that deep, which I would argue it probably should be, but it's not trying to be. It's going with just a super shallow punch-up with bright colors, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not my preference, but it's okay. Why are we getting a weird guy who does caricatures to do fill-in art? It just doesn't gel. I don't know, man. This one was cover price of, I think, $16 or $17. I still gave it 3 out of 5, but I don't really plan on rereading this at all. I might revisit those couple of like weird out of context panels just to make sure my opinion about them is correct, because I like being smug. But there's nothing about this that won't really pulls me back into it. It's close to the quality that the end of the Superman Son of Kal-El run ended on, of like just kind of going through the motions with some good art here and there. It just didn't really have much to say. Which, for my last review about those books, my big follow-up was, I really want them to revisit this character with a bit more effort and, like, oversight, and then it's Tom Taylor, who I like, revisiting it, and it's the same level of quality for entirely different reasons. So, yeah. So you're not talking about Martian Manhunter tonight, you liar.
I read Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter. It is really cool. It came out this week. It's really, really cool. I like it a lot.
You were teasing me, and then you didn't do it.
Well, because you haven't read it, I can't splooge about the last page, which is extremely cool. But yeah, it looks really cool.
I'm getting to it.
And the last page made me splooge. I'll say it here because it won't spoil it for you. The last page does a really cool trick where it's kind of like putting on the glasses in They Live. It was like, whoa, I've never seen that before. It's really, really cool.
Holy shit. Speaking of, that run also got extended from 6 to 12 issues because it got such a big like front load of attention, which is really cool. I didn't include it in the news because it's a little business as usual, but that is cool because Dennis Camp is getting so much attention right now.
Mm-hmm.
I love when the industry consolidates around somebody and just jerks them off relentlessly, especially when I actually like the person.
I like that I don't actually know what's going on. I'm confused just like I should be by the story.
Does he eat any Chacos in the first issue?
No comment.
He ruined the character. 0 out of 10. He doesn't eat the goddamn Oreos. I'm gonna kill myself.
I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of cookies.
Martian Manhunter has gone woke.
He smokes more cigarettes than you do.
Considering I've been trying to quit, that's probably a good thing. Speaking of, it's about Siggy break time. If you want to be woke as fuck, give us money. Go to patreon.com/dimecomicbros network and give us money because we deserve money. Because we insist upon it.
Speaking of money, I'm going to do a free shout out. A Michael Goodwin and a Kyle from Jetpack made a comic, and they're like $400 away from actually making more of the series. So please go to Kickstarter and search for Almond Man. You won't be disappointed.
That is true. As soon as that's something we're going to be consolidating around when it comes out and we can actually boost it like properly. But I will indeed be linking it as long as the Kickstarter is still open because holy shit, they're making bank.
It's still open. It has 9 days left, and I really want them to make that extra $400 so that we get more of this because it looks cool.
It does. I love Nutman.
It's really important to have a comma in that sentence.
Give us money. If you want to listen to the podcast early, get exclusive happy hour segments where we crack open a bevy, talk about sometimes comics, sometimes video games, sometimes weather, how much our old man joints hurt, interior design, the feng shui sometimes happens. It does happen, Jacob, you can't deny it. Sometimes it does. And if you're extra lucky, not this week because I've been busy, but next week we are returning to reviewing Bible Band because I forgot it existed again. I was like halfway through and I was reviewing all the episodes for Happy Hour and just my life kind of went to shit. So I got distracted, but we're resuming reviewing Bible Band, which
you are resuming.
Sorry, yes, I the royal we. No. I ramble, you tell me I'm stupid and this is a weird childhood obsession I can't get over. I cry about it. You're always correct. And
I will forgive you for all these reviews once you finally review the god-awful video game.
I'm gonna do it, dude.
I know.
I'm gonna do it.
Until then.
Until then, go to our Patreon if you want to get some weird bullshit. As well as some really cool stickers and artwork done by the third leg of this tripod, who's around sometimes, Colin, who does actual cool stuff with his life.
It's funny to call him the third leg of this group because he's definitely the shortest.
Tuna can. 1 inch long, 2 inches wide.
He does cool art stuff. Go buy his comic book.
That is also true. I don't think it's available online yet, but it will be soon. He has issue 2 of the Space Adventure, which is kind of out, but it's getting a proper printing. So that'll be linked somewhere around.
I haven't heard anything from him about getting my copy of issue 2, that rat bastard. I'm a proud owner of signed copy number 6 of his first issue. And then he forgets where he comes from when the second issue comes out.
That is true. He has really forgotten his roots. Shame on him. If you don't want to be shamed, go to our Substack as well, where Jacob likes putting up some pretty pictures and a kind of summary of how all of our episodes go, a little companion piece, if you will, as well as citing our news sources, because I'm a real journalist, I promise.
I like to do that because I'm not an auditory person. I need to see and I need to touch. So to see the cover of the comic that somebody else is talking about, I can go like, oh yeah, I've read that one, and now I completely understand what this person's talking about. It's happened multiple times. As the author of the Substack, I tune out Spencer as he's talking about his comic book, but then as I'm writing the Substack, I'm like, all right, what is this book that he rambles on about? Oh, yeah, I've read that one. I'm not even kidding. Like,
no, I know
real.
you're not. And tune in for more stuff. There'll be more things and stuff. Upcoming episode of DGB, as well as next episode of Dime Comic Bros should be with Colin, and we should be discussing the X-Men Days of Future Past film adaptation.
That's
so that'll be something, because I feel like we have different opinions on that one last time I checked, but it could change.
I liked it when it first came out, but I don't think I think I watched it once or twice soon after and then just kind of forgot about it. So I'm excited to go back and see if it's as good as I remember.
What are our predictions as to how many Wolverine claws out of goopy Sentinels is Colin going to give it? I'm thinking 5.
He'll probably give it 4.5 Mystiques out of 7 Trasks.
Interesting. I guess we'll have to do the over-under on that.
Mm.
Gambling.